I have around 18 years of software development experience, starting with Oracle 8i, Forms, Classic ASP, and then moving on to Java, EJB, servlets, and then PHP. And then more recently, I've been working in serverless architecture along with DevOps and RPA, of course. So today's topic my topic is Kubera. Kubera is an RPA and AI platform. Now, before we start talking about any new technology or anything, it's natural for anyone to ask why RPA. So, why RPA? Let's look at some of the figures. The Gartner has coined RPA as one of the fastest growing segment of the global enterprise software market, and the growth is almost 20 to 30% year on year. Not just that, but McKinsey has also said that 88% of the organizations want to implement RPA, and the most compelling why of RPA is that the organizations can achieve up to 30% reduction in their operating cost. So that's quite a compelling why for why RPA. So supposing the next question would be, what is RPA? Now, supposing you have applied to work with me and the first day of your job, and I give you the task to copy data from data table A to data table B, and I ask you to do it 8 hours a day, every day, for a week, month, 2 months, a quarter. So where will you be? What will be your morale like? Frustrated? Boring? Looking for a new job? Well, I won't blame you. But that's where, luckily, we have something called as RPA, or robotic process automations. Now, robots are very good at performing these repeated tasks again and again, and at a very high accuracy, and they deliver the same output every time. So you have this robot which you have implemented and automated a business process, say in this case, copying the data from table A to table B repeatedly every day, say for a year, 2 years, and then it will do the same task every day with the same accuracy. So when we talk of robotic RPA, the immediate benefits for the organizations who implement RPA are primarily accuracy, because it minimizes the human error. Compliance, it creates an audit trail. Speed. Now, supposing I give you the same task of copying data, the first 100 rows from table A to table B, it might get mundane and repetitive for you, and then the efficiency increases. But in case of a robot which is running day in and day out, the efficiency is still the same. It will deliver the same output over and over and over every iteration. The speed, so there is a speed. It can complete tasks almost 4 to 5 times faster than a human. And reliability, because the bots will always deliver the same output for the same rule that you have. And then the improved employee morale, I'm sure you will agree with me that if you don't have to copy that data from table A to table B, your morale will be much better, because then you can focus on productivity rather than processing all the time. And especially in light of the recent news which we have heard of NHS losing the important COVID-related data because of the table running out of capacity, it's either a bad case of failure of RPA, or it is an absence of RPA. So that's a compelling reason for RPA. If we go to the next slide, it is RPA and AI in process automation. Now we have looked at RPA, which is robotic process automation. So what happens in RPA? We have seen that we have created a robot, and when I say robot, in robotic process automation, it's not a physical robot as such. In RPA, robot means it's a specialized computer software which has been developed to standardize and automate a business process. So that's your bot, and this bot runs on a rule. Like if I go back again to the example of your data table A, data table B, I have set a rule that copy the first 100 lines of data from table A to table B. The bot will always do the same thing. So every time I invoke the robot, or say every time there's an application which calls the robot will pick the first 100 lines from table A, put it into table B again and again, repeatedly in every iteration. That is your robotic process automation. Now what happens in case you want to add, this is a plain automation. It does add a lot of efficiency, and it does remove the human error in the process considerably. But at the same time, we can enhance it by having AI and RPA together. So in short, AI and RPA are two of the most successful techniques for organization when they are looking at some basic goals like improving productivity and improving the employee morale. Now, AI is the simulation of human intelligent processes by computer systems or machine. These processes include learning. When I say learning, it is acquiring the information and contextual rules. Then there is the reasoning part, which is very important part of AI as well. And it involves reaching a judgment or a conclusion based on the contextual rules and the information that has been provided. And the third part of it, which is again very, very important and is the basis of AI, is that learning. So in every iteration and self-correcting, the bot will learn over a period of time, and it will in fact learn from its successes and failures both. So the Kubera Platform is a combination of AI and robotic process automation. They both have a lot in common. When combined, AI and RPA technologies result in what we call as intelligent automation. It empowers rapid end-to-end automation of your business process. So we have looked at RPA and we have looked at AI, but at the same time, we can't forget the overwhelming figures that we have of almost half or 50% failure of RPA implementations. Now that's a huge number, that's a significant number of failure, and organizations cannot afford to have those kind of failures repeatedly. So if you look at the details and the reasons why these failures are occurring, the main and the foremost reason why the RPA implementations fail is because of the selection of the wrong use cases or business processes. So organizations get so excited with the possibility of improved employee morale, cost reductions, and the productivity that sometimes they make mistakes in selection of the business process that can be automated. That is why we have Kubera. Kubera presents you ready to use cases and business processes for industries. Like as of now, we can say we have use cases for 5 industries which can be readily taken up from Kubera and implemented. What it does is it reduces the time that organizations spend in deciding on which business process they want to integrate. And secondly, and very important part of it, is that they almost nullify the 50% possibility of failure. So there are huge takeaways for organizations who are looking to implement RPA to look at Kubera as option and a platform to go to intelligent automation. Now, I'd like to give you this is the Kubera platform, and I'll quickly take you through 2 of the use cases or business processes which are already present in Kubera. Now, let's take an example of banking. Now, in case of banking, say you want to open an online bank account. The regular banking process, this validation and approval will take around 14 to 16 days. But if you automate and take the case of Kubera, which is intelligent automation, this reduces the time to almost half a day to 1 day. Now, this is a huge improvement in the productivity, and also it removes the human error in validations. So if we go back into the details of this process, we will see that the user might come into your website or whichever, or your app, and then there can be a chatbot which can take the details from the user and then direct them to the form which is specific to their kind of requirements, depending upon what type of account they want to open. It could be a business or a personal, or in the personal you have different types of accounts, in business you have different types of accounts, so it will direct you to your specific form. So that's one bot. Now the user will go there, they will enter the data, they submit the form. When they submit the form, there can be a bot which can accept all those information, and it can trigger the workflow for the approval and validations to be taken place for approval of that and the creation of a new account. Now at the same time, there can be another bot which will take your details, and it will do the background validations like your credit score, or if you have entered your social media profiles like Google or Facebook, it will go and validate your details there as well. At the same time, there will be an OCR layer, which is nothing but optical character recognition layer. Now when you are submitting your application, you might have documents which are scanned or images. So the OCR layer will actually read those data, and based on that information, it will try to validate your information. Like, say, supposing you have got your driving license, and you have entered a name. You have obviously a name in your driving license, and then you have entered a name in your banking application, and they don't actually match perfectly, in the sense that you might have a second name in your driving license, but you have missed out writing the second name in your banking application. So in that case, the OCR layer might create an exception and might need help from a human agent, in that case, to come in and perform the task for that. So once the human comes and they look at both the details and they try and validate it, they see that they validate and approve it, because they find that the driving license person and the person in the application with all the other details, they both have the same NI number, so they are obviously the same person. So the human has done that validation. It has followed that approval cycle. Now in that case, this layer at the back end, it's learning, so that next time when it comes across the same situation, it knows how to react. So that is how it improves the judgment side of the layer of how to. So over a period of time, from its failure, as I mentioned before, it learns from the failures and success. So it learns from the failure based on the human agent's interaction, and adds it onto its log how to behave when next time they have the same situation. So if I quickly take you through these slides, you can see that this is a classic. The first two slides are the classic case of RPA. So in that case, the customer comes, they enter the details, the human agent is there to approve the whole everything, and then you have another bot which will go and do, which will trigger your creation of new account. Now we go to the intelligent automation. In that case, initial is you have the agents. In the next step, you have the machine learning, which has been added. You have the human agents taking decisions, and the machine learning is learning at that moment. And then you see, based on that, over a period of time, these cognitive robots can be added into the resource pool of your whole automation life cycle or the workflow. Another use case that we can mention is about the media. Now in media, you might have seen that everyone keeps talking about the missing music identifiers. So what exactly are these music identifiers and why are they important? Well, that's a big thing on its own, big topic on its own. So just touching upon it briefly is that every time you create a music or even a recording, you get something called as ISRC, which is an identifier for is unique for your recording. So why is it important? Is because every time if I use something which you have created or recorded, then you get paid based on my use of that ISRC, because that ISRC is what identifies your recording. So every time I or anyone else in the world uses that, the artist get paid based on that ISRC. So, but because the music data is so much so much collected into different silos. Every organization has its own database of music. So when if we take a look at the identifiers, supposing the identifiers in the database which is maintained by the BBC, when they are looking at their cue sheets or the database that is there at the PRS, and they don't match because they don't have the common identifiers which should be there. Now the organization one might have its own music identifiers added onto it, and again at the same time, if I'm registered with one organization, I still want to get paid wherever in the world my recording or my music is being used. So that is the reason. That's a very good case study for Kubera, because Kubera Platform, the use case of Kubera for media, it will collect the information globally. Now it can read the data in different formats, because it has AI and RPA core. Now the basic difference between RPA and AI is that RPA works only with structured data, whereas AI can work with many different formats, which are structured and non-structured both. So the Kubera can read all these different formats of media files, and then there will be this OCR and NLP layer. NLP and OCR both work together, and they could be looking for the identifiers or any music which is playing anywhere in the world. So supposing my recording has been played by someone in Australia, the Kubera NLP layer will be able to identify that and put it back into the cue sheet data of Kubera. And over a period of time, by collecting that and the background interface with publishers like PRS and PPL, it will collect and enrich this database with the missing identifiers. So over a period of time, you will see that the data is enriched, it is of a better quality, and it improves the copyrights and the payment, the fairness of the payment to each and every artist. Not just the bigger artists, but every small artist can be paid fairly for every time their music is being used. Not just that, but even if we take examples of productions like, for example, Peppa Pig. If we take the example of Peppa Pig might have been played in UK. It is in English. Now it is being played, it is very popular in Far East as well. So if it is being played there and they have converted it into their own language, the Kubera will be able to read that data, enrich that data into the cue sheet database of the production files. And because every time there is an exception and Kubera cannot make a decision based on the information and the rules that it knows, there will be an element of human agent coming in and making that decision. And because and every time there is a human interaction which has made that decision, the Kubera will become more intelligent to be able to take those decisions automatically on its own the next time it has the same situation. So briefly, I touched upon 2 use cases on business processes which can be easily implemented using Kubera, which is AI and RPA platform, and that brings me to the end of my presentation, and I would really like to hear from anyone who is interested in this RPA and AI and is working or really wants to start working on this. If you want to chat up with me or contact me for further details, or even if you just want to catch up on these topics, I would be very happy. And last but not the least, thanks to the whole team of NI Developer Conference and Mark. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Thank you.
Okay, so thanks for that, Ritu. Next on this session, on this track, we've got our sponsor GCD, who's going to do a talk for us about integrating with APIs and the pros and cons of how that can work when you're building a product on top of it. And on track 2 at the moment, I believe we've got some fun AR going on. So over to Andrew Goff.